Hi, welcome to Conscious Mind Tripping. My name is Audrey Newmont, and I'll just take a little second and let you know that I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm also a spiritual practitioner, and I have studied the heck out of science. And I've taken all these things and put it into a book called The Mind Trip Game Play Your Way to Conscious Thinking. So, why do I do all of this? Because it's what I do. And tonight could be a little triggering because we're going to get into one of the big words in life. What is it? Trust. I have been noticing with a lot of people, my clients and different people, that there is a major lack of trust. And why is that important? Trust is one of those things in life we kind of like, I think a lot of times we don't pay attention to. And I think it's important to pay attention. So I'm going to share some things with you. I want you to look at this. This is the controller of you. This is the thing that makes everything happen. This is your mind, and it is what is creating all day, all night, 24/7, 365. So when we have a lack of trust and we're rolling that, there's a lot of things that come into play because it's all in your mind script. And it's part of our memory. It's part of the program. And it's part of what we're unaware of. When we're rolling from a place of, I don't trust, in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like, there you are. And that's creative. So let's look at what that means as I get this off the thing, off of the stage, as it were. The reason why this is important, when we have a lack of trust, when we have had those moments where we have been betrayed in whatever way, shape, or form, and we harden our heart, and then we don't trust, that's where we get into trouble. And I've got my notes going here tonight. So it makes us feel guarded. It makes us feel disconnected, skeptical. And those are all feelings that we call on the fear side. And whether it's those fear feelings, which are creative, remember your heart's the most important thing, and your mind. So when these two are connected and we are creating, if you're coming from a place of being skeptical, disconnected, guarded, hurt, then there you are. And it doesn't make the heart open for the great experience that life has to offer us. So today we're going to learn to reopen, reclaim our trust, and trust again, but with wisdom rather than the kid in the back seat being hurt. So remember, when we're doing all of this, it's a game, right? Life is a very interesting, fun game that we get to play because we chose to come here. We're here on the planet, so you're a player. And there is the game piece. That's the car that represents you. There's three drivers. The number one driver, whatever you want to call that, some people call it God, source, intelligence, all these different names that you can give to it, but it is this energy that flows in and as and through us. It's our higher power. It's a part of us. And it is expansive. It's very creative. So when we're using the number one driver in a way that's intentional, being the number one driver on purpose, that's a lot of life right there. But then comes the second driver. That's the adult in the front seat. That's probably the one I'm talking to right now. That's the one that's logical, reasonable, able to look at things with deduction. Getting back to that controller that we're looking at, the driver that is the adult driver is the one up here, and it's that conscious part of us. And then for all of us, we got the kid in the back seat. That's the one that's been hurt. That's the one that's guarded, jaded. That's the one that's skeptical. So when you've got the third driver, the kid in the back seat driving, they're driving back to the problem all the time. They're coming from a place of whatever that looks like. So let's get into this. How does that look? Here's a big one that people do. They hurt me, so I'm never going to let myself get hurt like that again. In my lifetime of talking with people, and myself included, those parts of us that get hurt, it's like, woo, I don't want to experience that again. So we don't usually learn that we have to understand why we were in that situation, learn from it, grow from it, gain that wisdom. We just, in that unconscious mode, and we say, I don't want that to happen, so I'm not going to create that again. And there we are. So when you understand that it's not about what the other person did, it's more about what we were in that moment and how we allowed and what that means and how that looks, then we have the opportunity to love again more fully, but from a place of wisdom, understanding, and using that understanding. But here's the thing. When we come in and we're children, we don't discern the difference between right, wrong, good or bad, trusting, not trusting, all of that stuff. So when we're a kid, like I can use myself as an example, I trusted, and there were times where I got into trouble. And so I couldn't trust myself sometimes because I'm a mischievous kid. And then something would happen with maybe a parent or whatever, and they would do something, and then they'd apologize. And it's like, all right, I get it. But then they would do it again. And then there would be an apology, and then they would do it again. And so I learned that maybe we don't trust because the words are kind of empty. And then we get into where we're going to the different arenas that we all go to, where we are trusting teachers, we're trusting other adults, we're trusting all the different people in our lives. And one of the big places that we trust, that we've all trusted, and that we're all having a moment, we've trusted the government. I literally had somebody say to me one time, and when I was pointing something out, and they said, the government wouldn't do that to us. Maybe they did. And maybe we didn't know, and the trust kind of gets broken when we do know. Sometimes we trusting ministers. Society tells us you can trust them because they're a minister, or you can trust them because there's a doctor. Society dictates a lot of times who we trust and why, like trust the science. They're scientists. Surely we trust the scientist. But in the scheme of things, when we're trusting blindly and we're just going along with the program, and then we realize later, oh, well, maybe they didn't have enough information, or maybe the people that we were trusting other people that were maybe not in alignment. So there's all these areas in life where we are trusting, and a lot of them we were designed to trust, like newscasters. Certainly we trust them. I trusted them for years, and then came to find out it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been trusting blindly. So I'm not going to judge myself on that. I'm going to understand it and gain that wisdom and gain that understanding. So when we are now in a moment where we want to be conscious and owning our ability to trust, because we want our hearts to be open, we don't want ourselves to be closed off and jaded, what do we do with all this information? So another thing with trust, it used to mean to allow, to accept, to be receptive, to be open. And then we, have these things happen where we realize that there's all these different things that have been happening that we've been just trusting. And maybe it's a moment for us to be more discerning rather than closed off. Start using our logic and our critical thinking instead of just be blindly trusting. But before we do all of that stuff, we got to look at what is our own individual programs with regard to trust. So the reason why I bring all of this up is because I've been having quite a few people with challenges around trust, and there's a lot of commonalities, there are a lot of common things. Like, for instance, when I have couples and they come in and one of the people say, well, I don't trust them, they did this. And it's all right, well, is there an ability within you to see that they can change their behavior, that they can do something different? And almost always, the one person that's not trusting, it says, no, I don't believe that. And funny enough, I have many situations where the other person has changed, and I watch them do it. And the person that wasn't trusting, they could never see the change. They could never see the difference with the person and the fact that they did change. They just held on tightly to, you screwed up back here, you hurt me, it looked like whatever it is, and I'm never going to be able to trust that you're different. And so it usually doesn't end well. And when you have the two people who are in process and they're both looking at each other and they're saying, all right, I did this, because it always takes two. And the other person saying, well, I did that. And they're able to see why they did it. They're able to understand what their unconscious is, what they're unaware, and they're able to change those things and make it different. And more importantly, each party being in the moment and letting go of what the hurt was and having faith in the person, having trust in the person, and more importantly, being aware if they do it again that you're going to be able to hold your word with them, be able to let them know, listen, this is what you said you were changing, and here it is. So owning their word, and then the other person being able to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to not be defensive. I'm going to be looking at it because there's a part of it where that's your perception and it's, what you're seeing. So I'm going to allow to look at myself and be able to change what the thing is. So when people are able to do that in a relationship and they're able to grow with each other, they're able to reestablish that trust, there you are. And the relationship can grow from there. But again, it takes both parties. So when you're looking at all of this and you're looking at your timeline, and I made a little timeline for here, we all have what we learned in the ages of 0 to 8. So when we're not trusting sometimes, it's because of the programming that we got, usually in the back seat of our parents' car, the caregiver's car. It can also be the siblings in the back seat. So we learn along the way what trust looks like. We learn it from the relationship with the parents. We learn it how the relationship is with the parents and the kid. We learn all of these definitions of what trust looks like. And then we carry on in our life. And as you can see, we have these challenging experiences. We have these moments that are hard. And then we learn from it. Usually we grow from it and we gain that wisdom. And then we create other experiences. And as you can see from the map, all the four corners of your life, we trust in our love. We trust in our happiness. We trust in our health and our success and abundance. We have all of these different areas where being in trust is important and it's valuable. But here's what people fail to do sometimes, and it's a big part of this. There's a lot of it because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be bad. We don't want to be that person that was not trustworthy. So a lot of times we're so busy looking at what the other person did, said, whatever that thing is that broke the trust, that we forget to look at ourselves. So when you are looking at these challenging experiences, a lot of times it's about, well, they did this, they did that. So we don't have that trust in ourselves on a level. Number one, we might be not taking responsibility for where we broke somebody else's trust and how that affected the relationship. That's a big one. And I talked about it last time I was on here, and I got to say it again. If you don't take responsibility for the way that your behavior, your actions, your words have affected another person that might be valuable to you, it makes it really hard to change within yourself, to see those parts of who we are that are maybe not in alignment with the greatest relationship. So there's a part of it of understanding where we have been not trustworthy. And then also, what did we do when the other person broke our trust? Did we keep going back for more? Did we not say anything? What is it that happened in the moment? So when you're looking at your timeline, that's an important part of all of this in the process. When you're looking at your timeline, you're looking at the whole thing. So you're looking back to, what did I learn about trust in the 0 to 8? And then in the experiences of my life, where was there a lack of trust? Where was there a lack of faith? So you're looking at all these key players in your life